Hello everyone, I'm Ellie Weisenberg-Kelly, Manager of Public Programs at the Picantico Center of the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, located in Tarrytown, New York, and home to Kykuit, the historic Rockefeller estate overlooking the Hudson River, built in 1913 by John D. Rockefeller. Today, the Picantico Center serves as a community resource, offering public access as a conference center and museum, as well as offering a wide variety of arts and culture programming and an artist residency program. I'm excited to welcome you to today's virtual tour of the iconic Marcel Breuer House, led by Kimberly Miller, architect and managing director of the Green Rock Corporation, which is owned by the National Trust for Historic Preservation and handles maintenance and security for the Picantico Center, and Katrina London, manager of collections and curatorial projects at the Picantico Center. For today's tour, Kimberly Miller will guide you through the Breuer House's architectural highlights, while Katrina London will focus on its furnishings and art. Designed by Marcel Breuer for the House in the Museum Garden, a 1949 exhibit at the Museum of Modern Art, the house was transported by the Rockefeller family to their Picantico estate in 1950 for use as a guest house. In 2007, the house was deeded to the National Trust for Historic Preservation by the estate of Lawrence S. Rockefeller, and the Rockefeller Brothers Fund assumed its stewardship. Today, the house is managed by the RBF and is used as housing to support artists in their creative process through the Fund's Artist Residency Program. We hope you enjoy the opportunity for a closer look at our collection from home, and we can't wait until we can welcome you back. For information on upcoming programs, please visit our website at rbf.org/events. And now, here's Kimberly Miller with her architectural tour of the Marcel Breuer House.
Thank you for joining me today. I'm Kimberly Miller, and I'm going to be giving you a tour of the Marcel Breuer House. Marcel Breuer was an innovative furniture designer and architect who was born in Hungary in 1902. He studied cabinet making at the Bauhaus in Weimar, Germany, and then later architectural design. The Bauhaus was a school founded by architect Walter Gropius to unify the fine arts through crafts. In 1937, Breuer left Europe to go to the Harvard School of Design to become a professor, and Gropius had already become chairman of that department. They also went into practice together until 1941. In the 1940s, he did a number of residences that gained him popularity and became known as the master of informal living for his ability to show that modern design and comfortable living were not mutually exclusive. One of his most famous designs, the Geller House in Long Island, New York, was built in 1944. It showed his binuclear design concept, in which he separated the activity zones in the house underneath the butterfly roof, which we have here on this house as well. As he was gaining popularity after World War II, there was also a housing shortage in the United States. The factories were slow and they had excess material, so prefab housing was becoming more appealing. And in fact, a year before the House in the Museum Garden was on display, the Lustron House by Carl Strandland was on display a block from the museum. It was a prefab all-steel enamel house with built-ins and radiant heat, and the exhibition was very successful. Also nearby, Levittown was being erected by Levitt and Sons. And so the museum decided they wanted to do demonstration houses in their garden, and they wanted to focus on design. So they asked Breuer to design a house that would show how the average American family could live in a well-designed, modern, affordable, and expandable house. The result is, as you see behind us. The house he designed was built in the garden in 1949 and was on exhibition for 6 months. After the exhibit, we're not really sure why, but the house was cut into 4 pieces and put on a tractor trailer and brought up to the site in Picantico Hills. There was a house here that had burned down, and there was a street network here. There was a change not only in ownership and in siting, but also in purpose, because it was a demonstration house and now it had to become a livable house. Plumbing and electrical had to be added, which were not part of the exhibit. And one of the things we see here behind us is that the landscape accessories were not brought up here to this site. Breuer would have had a low stone wall around the backyard with built-in barbecue and seating, and also fences between the children's and the adult backyard, again separating the activity zones. So that's something you don't see here. 2 years after the house was built, the addition we see here was added by Breuer's office, and it houses 2 bedrooms and a bathroom for the staff serving the family in the house. It is sited in the service yard of the house, so it continues that zones of activity that Breuer had initially designed. As I was saying, there were some changes made when the house was brought here on site. And one of those was the garage was extended about 6 feet out, probably to house the cars of the 1950s, which were quite large. But that really interrupted Breuer's design of a planar facade with the cantilever over the garage. So in 2009, it was brought back to its original design. The house, as you see, is an orangey color. The house is cypress. Breuer used to let his houses weather naturally or be painted gray. In this case, the family chose to keep trying to paint it and varnish it to keep that fresh cypress look, and that's what we have here today. One of the concepts that Breuer had to make the house affordable was this idea of an expandable house. The house could be designed with just 2 bedrooms on the right side of the house, and the house would end at the chimney. As the family grew in prosperity and in size, the house could be added onto with a garage and a master suite above it. And the butterfly roof lent itself to this because it could just be extended over the addition. The house was built in its expanded form in both the museum and here on site. One of the first things you notice when you walk into the living room is this connection he designed from the interior to the exterior with the wall of windows. Here in the living room, you can see Breuer's use of the flow of space in this small, relatively small house. That he achieved by not only the butterfly roof, but by not having the walls go to all the way to the ceiling for the entry wall here and the kitchen wall. And also having rooms open onto each other, like the master bedroom opening on to the living room and the dining room onto the kitchen. One of the things that was changed when it came on site here is the flooring, which he originally designed as bluestone flooring with radiant heat. The radiant heat was installed, but for whatever reason instead they put cork flooring and then later carpet. When we restored the house in 2007, there was not enough depth for the bluestone flooring to be put in, so we chose a slate instead, which matched the patio outside. As you can see, the master bedroom is quite open to the rest of the house. It only has the rope railing and wire separating it. Breuer designed to have just a curtain when they wanted privacy. The family decided to put in sliding wood doors, which are nicely stacked behind the chimney so you don't notice them as much, but it does offer some more privacy between the master bedroom and the rest of the house. Up here in the master bedroom, you can see Breuer's design for the rope railing that he had. And if you're standing on the balcony looking out over the rest of the house, it almost looks like you're standing on the bow of a ship. You'll also be able to see the cuts in the ceiling where the house was cut into 4 to be brought up here. Also, the vents in the ceiling were not actually Breuer's design, but they were used in the exhibition to provide ventilation during the hot New York City summer. Another difference between the original house and the house as it is here is the color of the wall behind the bed and the wall at the entry. In the original photos, it shows a more vibrant blue, what they call Breuer blue. When we went to do the paint analysis here, which was professionally done, we came up with this muted color blue. And our thoughts are just that the family probably wanted to tone down the Breuer blue, and instead of trying to paint over it, just decided to put in new plywood, which was probably easier. The ceiling in the bathroom also was different. When we had to do some restoration work, we actually found a plywood panel with the outline of 3 panels on it. In the original photos, there's a photo of people gluing panels to a piece of plywood. GE was a sponsor of the exhibit. They were promoting GE's new product of radiant heat panels for the bathroom. The demonstration house did not have actual power, so they were just representing the heating panels. Also in the bathroom, the tile is a plate glass called Vitrolite. It is no longer made. It hasn't been made since the 50s, but there are people around the country who salvage it, and we found somebody that could restore the tub surround with the exact color. The kitchen is separated from the living dining area by open shelves, which can be closed off by sliding panels. We have a 1949 refrigerator and stove that we found on eBay that are exact copies of the ones that were in the exhibition. Behind the stove is a piece of Vitrolite, much like the bathroom upstairs. GE also included in the exhibit a top-loading dishwasher and combination sink, which we have not been able to find that was ever mass-produced. Here we are in the playroom of the house. One of the things Breuer did to make it more affordable is he used plywood throughout the house for the walls and even the ceiling. In most cases, he paints the wood, but in here he has the natural wood with scoring in order to add some visual interest. As I mentioned, he had zones of activity, so the children were kind of cut off from the adults. There would have been a fence separating the children's exterior with the adult exterior. However, in the Geller house, he was criticized for not having enough oversight between the parents and the children. So in this house, he installed this cutout between the kitchen and the playroom so the adults can watch the children. Here in the guest bedroom, Breuer brings the cypress siding out from the interior to the exterior, as well as the color of the ceiling, which is a pale yellow, from the interior to the underside of the eave. Breuer wanted to merge the interior and the exterior of the house as much as possible, so he installed doors to the exterior in every room of the house, even in the bedrooms, except the children's bedroom, because he didn't want them running out of the house. Breuer became even more successful after the exhibition. The exhibition had a catalog which included all the suppliers and materials for the exhibition, which was really helpful to us when we went to restore the building in 2007. In addition, the museum sold the plans for the house, and there are several copies, one notably in Princeton, New Jersey. Breuer was influential in residential architecture with the openness and flow of space in his designs. His houses also showed that modern design and comfortable living did not have to be mutually exclusive.